I stood at the bathroom mirror, my reflection staring back with eyes that had forgotten how to dream. Park Minju, that was me. 26 years old, widowed, and carrying the world on shoulders that had grown too accustomed to the burden. Papa. Papa, hurry up. We're going to be late. The voice of my 4-year-old son, Pum Pum, echoed through our small apartment. I smiled despite the exhaustion that seemed to live in my bones these days. That child? My miracle, my reason for waking up every morning since Bomsu left us. Coming, baby, I called back, smoothing down my shirt. It was nothing fancy, just a simple button-up I wore to my job at the accounting firm. The same shirt I'd worn twice this week already because laundry was a luxury I hadn't had time for. I emerged from the bathroom to find Pum Pum already dressed in his kindergarten uniform, his little backpack strapped to his shoulders. His face was so much like Byung-soo's, the same gentle curve of his cheeks, the same bright eyes that sparkled with intelligence far beyond his years. Papa looks tired, Pum Pum observed, tilting his head with that analytical expression he often wore. Sometimes I forgot he was only 4. Did you sleep? A little, I lied, ruffling his soft hair. Come on, let's get you to school. As we walked hand in hand down the crowded Seoul streets, Pum Pum chatted about his friends at school. Papa, do you know what Jaehoon said yesterday? He said his alpha father lifted a whole car. Can you imagine? A whole car. I chuckled softly. That sounds very strong. Papa. Pum Pum's voice grew quieter, more serious. When will I get a new father? All my friends have 2 fathers. Jaehoon has his omega daddy and his alpha father. Minseo has his beta papa and his beta dad. I only have you. My heart clenched painfully in my chest. We'd had this conversation before, but it never got easier. Pum Pum, you know Papa loves you very much. Isn't that enough? I love you too, Papa. So much. He squeezed my hand tighter. But I want you to be happy. And I want a father who's tall and strong and handsome. Someone who can protect us and play with me and make you smile more. I blinked back the sudden moisture in my eyes. When had my baby become so perceptive? We'll see, Pum Pum. We'll see. After dropping him off at kindergarten, I made my way to work, my mind wandering as it often did during the commute. 5 years. It had been 5 years since Byung-soo and I married, 4 years since Pum Pum was born, and 3 years since Bomsu's sudden death from a heart condition none of us knew he had. 3 years of being alone. 3 years of being both parents to our son. 3 years of my sister Jisoo telling me I needed to move on, to find happiness again, to give Pum Pum the family he deserved. But how could I? How could I open my heart when it still bore the scars of loss? As an Omega, I'd been taught that we bonded deeply, loved fiercely. Losing Byung-soo had nearly destroyed me. The only thing that kept me going was Pum Pum. Minju. There you are. I looked up to find Jisoo rushing toward me, her beta scent, warm and comforting like cinnamon, washing over me. My sister worked as a marketing coordinator for one of the biggest corporations in Seoul, and she always looked impeccable in her tailored suits. Jisoo? What are you doing here? I asked, surprised to see her outside my building. I've been calling you. Didn't you check your phone? She grabbed my arm, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Minju, you have to come with me this weekend. Please. I sighed. Come where? Jisoo, you know I have Pum Pum. The wedding. The biggest wedding in Seoul. My company is hosting it and I have an invitation. Han Lee, the CEO of Han Industries, is getting married. She was practically vibrating with enthusiasm. This is the social event of the year. Everyone who's anyone will be there. Han Lee. Even I, who barely paid attention to celebrity news, knew that name. The Alpha CEO was infamous, ruthless in business, cold and calculating, with a reputation for destroying anyone who crossed him. He was only 32 but had built an empire that made other corporations tremble. I don't think that's a good idea, I said slowly. That's not really my scene. Minju, please. Jisoo's expression softened, becoming more serious. When was the last time you did something for yourself? When was the last time you went anywhere that wasn't work or Pum Pum school? You're still young. You're still beautiful. You deserve to experience life again. I experience life every day with my son. You know what I mean. She squeezed my hand. Bring Pum Pum. He'd love it. There will be other children there, beautiful decorations, amazing food. And she lowered her voice. Maybe you'll meet someone. An alpha or a beta who could. Jisoo. My voice was firm but not unkind. I'm not looking for that. I know you're not. But maybe it will find you anyway. She smiled gently. Just think about it, okay? The wedding is this Saturday. You don't have to stay long. Just come. For me? For Pum Pum? I wanted to say no. Every instinct told me to decline, to stay in my safe, predictable routine. But then I thought of Pum Pum's words that morning about wanting a father, about wanting me to be happy. Fine, I heard myself say. But just for a little while. Jisoo's face lit up like the sun breaking through clouds. Really? Oh Minju, you won't regret this. I'll help you pick out something to wear. We'll make it special. Saturday morning arrived too quickly. I stood in front of my closet, staring at the limited options hanging there. Most of my clothes were practical, work attire, casual wear for weekends with Pum Pum. Nothing suitable for the biggest wedding in Seoul. Papa. Aunt Jisoo is here. Pum Pum called from the living room. My sister swept into my bedroom moments later, carrying several garment bags. I knew you wouldn't have anything appropriate, so I brought options. Jisoo, this is too much. Nonsense. She unzipped the first bag, revealing a sleek black suit. This would look stunning on you. I shook my head. Too formal. I'll look like I'm going to a business meeting. She moved to the next option, a navy blue ensemble that was equally sophisticated. We went through 3 more suits before she revealed the last one, and I felt my breath catch. It was white. Pure, pristine white with delicate silver embroidery along the lapels. The cut was modern but elegant, tailored to be form-fitting without being ostentatious. Jisoo, I can't wear white to someone else's wedding, I protested. That's inappropriate. It's cream white, not pure white, she corrected. And trust me, you'll look absolutely beautiful. Besides, this is Korea, not the West. The bride, well, the other Omega groom, will be in traditional hanbok. Please Minju. Just try it on. Against my better judgment, I did. The suit fit perfectly, hugging my slender frame in all the right places. The fabric was luxurious, probably costing more than I made in 2 months. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. Papa, you look like a prince. Pum Pum gasped when I emerged from the bedroom. He was already dressed in a miniature version of my suit. Jisoo had planned this. We match, my son exclaimed, running to stand beside me. He was right. We looked like we belonged in a fairy tale, a prince and his young heir. You both look perfect, Jisoo said softly, and I heard the emotion in her voice. Byung-soo would be so proud of how you've raised Pum Pum. How you've survived and kept going. But Minju, he'd also want you to live again. Not just survive. Live. I swallowed hard, pushing down the complex emotions her words evoked. We should go before I change my mind. The venue was breathtaking. A historic palace that had been rented out for the occasion. Cherry blossoms lined the paths, their petals drifting like snow in the spring breeze. Guests in expensive designer wear crowded the grounds, their chatter filling the air with excitement and anticipation. This is amazing. Pum Pum whispered, his eyes wide as he took in everything. We found our seats, decent ones thanks to Jisoo's position in the company. The ceremony area was decorated with thousands of white roses and orchids. An ornate arch stood at the front, where the marriage would take place. Have you seen the groom, Seo-han? Someone behind us whispered. He's devastatingly handsome. That alpha presence is overwhelming. I heard his fiancée is the son of a politician, another voice answered. It's a power match. Very strategic. I tuned out the gossip, focusing instead on keeping Pum Pum entertained as we waited. The minutes ticked by, and gradually, a strange tension filled the air. Whispers grew louder. People checked their watches. The ceremony was supposed to start 10 minutes ago, Jisoo murmured beside me. Then, suddenly, music began to play. The crowd fell silent as everyone stood. I lifted Pum Pum so he could see better, and we watched as figures began processing down the aisle. First came the wedding party, beautiful betas and omegas in coordinated attire. Then came the other groom's family looking proud and regal. But it was the appearance of Seo-han Lee that made the entire venue seem to hold its breath. He was magnificent. There was no other word for it. Tall, easily over 6 feet, with broad shoulders that filled out his black tuxedo perfectly. His face was carved from marble, all sharp angles and aristocratic features. But it was his eyes that caught me, dark, intense, holding a predatory intelligence that made my Omega instincts shiver with awareness. His alpha pheromones were carefully controlled, but I could still sense them, powerful, dominant, like standing at the edge of a storm and feeling the electricity in the air. Seo-han took his place at the altar, his expression unreadable. The music swelled again, signaling the entrance of his betrothed. But the Omega who appeared at the entrance looked wrong. His face was pale, not with nervousness but with determination. He walked down the aisle slowly, too slowly, and with each step the tension in the air thickened. Something's wrong, I whispered to Jisoo. She nodded, her expression worried. This doesn't feel right. The Omega reached the altar. The officiant began to speak, asking the traditional questions. But before he could finish, the Omega held up his hand. Wait. His voice carried across the silent venue. I can't do this. Gasps erupted from the crowd. Seo Han's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes, something dark and dangerous. I'm in love with someone else, the Omega continued, his voice shaking. I'm sorry, Hanli. I can't marry you. I won't. The temperature in the venue seemed to drop by 10 degrees. Seo Han's alpha presence exploded outward, making every Omega in the vicinity whimper and cower. Even I, sitting rows back, felt the overwhelming force of his rage and humiliation. You're ending this now? Seo Han's voice was deadly quiet, but it carried nonetheless. Here? In front of everyone? I'm sorry, the Omega whispered again. Then he turned and fled down the aisle, leaving chaos in his wake. The venue erupted into noise. People were shouting, cameras were flashing as media representatives frantically captured everything. I saw Seo Han's hands clench into fists, his jaw tight with barely contained fury. We need to leave, I said urgently to Jisoo, already moving to gather pum-pum. This is going to get ugly. But before I could stand, Seo Han's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Everyone sit down. Now. The command in his alpha voice was impossible to resist. Every Omega and Beta in the venue immediately complied, dropping back into their seats. Even I found myself sitting before I consciously decided to do so. Seo Han stood at the altar, his dark eyes scanning the crowd. His presence was overwhelming, terrifying in its intensity. This was a man who had built an empire through sheer will and ruthlessness. This was a predator who had just been publicly humiliated. The media is here, he said, his voice carrying across the stunned silence. This wedding was meant to be broadcast, to be remembered. I will not give my enemies the satisfaction of seeing me broken. His eyes continued to scan the crowd, and I had the sudden, terrible feeling that I should make myself smaller, less visible. Someone here will marry me today, Seo Han declared. The ceremony will happen. I will not be made a fool. The crowd remained frozen in shock. No one moved. No one spoke. And then his eyes locked onto mine. I felt it like a physical touch, the weight of that gaze dark and assessing. My breath caught in my throat. No. Please look away. Please don't. You. His finger pointed directly at me. The one in white. Stand up. My blood turned to ice. Jisoo grabbed my arm, her grip tight with panic. Pum-Pum looked up at me with confused, worried eyes. Papa, he whispered. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. I said stand up. The alpha command in his voice was stronger this time, impossible to resist. My body obeyed before my mind could catch up, rising on shaking legs. Seo Han's eyes raked over me, taking in my white suit, my appearance. Something shifted in his expression, satisfaction maybe or calculation. Come here. And no, I managed to stammer, finding my voice. I'm sorry I can't. You can and you will. He took a step toward me and the crowd parted like water before him. What's your name, Omega? Minju, Jisoo answered when I couldn't. Park Minju. Please, Seo Han, he's my brother, he has a child. Seo Han's gaze dropped to Pum-Pum, still sitting beside me. For a moment, something flickered across his face, surprise, perhaps, or recalculation. But it was gone in an instant. Even better, he said coldly. A family man. Respectable. Come here, Park Minju, or I will come to you. I knew I had no choice. This man could destroy my life with a word. He could have me blacklisted from every job in Seoul. He could take everything from me and Pum-Pum out of spite and wounded pride. On trembling legs, I walked down the aisle toward him. Each step felt like walking toward my doom. Pum-Pum called out behind me, frightened, but Jisoo held him back. When I reached the altar, I had to tilt my head back to look at Seo Han properly. Up close, he was even more intimidating, his alpha scent washing over me, dark and complex like whiskey and smoke. His eyes bore into mine with an intensity that made me want to submit, to bare my throat in instinctive Omega deference. You'll do, he said quietly, for only me to hear. You're beautiful, well-dressed, and you look innocent enough to garner sympathy. The media will eat this up. The ruthless Seo swept off his feet by an unexpected Omega, a whirlwind romance. Please, I whispered, my voice breaking. I have a son. I have a life. You can't just. I can do whatever I want, he cut me off, his voice still soft but laced with steel. This is the price of my mercy, Park Min-ju. Marry me now today and I'll take care of you and your son. You'll want for nothing. Refuse. His eyes grew colder. And I'll make sure you wish you hadn't. Tears burned behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I thought of Pum Pum, of his bright smile and innocent questions about wanting a father. I thought of my sister who would be ruined if her brother publicly humiliated her CEO. I thought of how unfair it all was, how one moment I was a guest at a wedding and the next I was being forced into marriage with a stranger. If I agree, I said, my voice steadier than I felt, you promise my son won't be harmed? He won't be part of whatever revenge you're planning. Something flashed in CEO Han's eyes, respect, maybe, or surprise that I was trying to negotiate. Your son will be protected. He'll have the best of everything. You have my word. An alpha's word, given directly, was binding. If he broke it, his reputation would be destroyed far more thoroughly than any broken engagement could manage. Then, I swallowed hard, sealing my fate. I'll do it. CEO Han's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. He turned to the officiant, who stood frozen in shock. Continue the ceremony. We have a wedding to finish. The ceremony passed in a blur. I stood beside this stranger, this powerful, terrifying alpha, and repeated words I didn't mean, made promises I didn't understand. The officiant stumbled through the service, clearly as shocked as everyone else. When it came time to exchange rings, CEO Han produced a simple platinum band from his pocket. It was meant for the other Omega, I realized dimly, but it fit my finger as though it had been made for me. I now pronounce you married, the officiant finally said, his voice uncertain. You may kiss. I froze. I hadn't thought this far ahead. CEO Han turned to me, his dark eyes unreadable. Then he leaned down and I felt his lips brush against mine in the briefest, most impersonal kiss imaginable. But even that chaste touch sent electricity racing through my body. His alpha pheromones intensified for just a moment, wrapping around me, making my omega instincts rise to the surface in confused awareness. When he pulled back, there was something new in his eyes, curiosity perhaps, or interest. But it was gone so quickly I might have imagined it. Smile, he murmured, too low for anyone else to hear. You're now married to one of the most powerful men in Korea. Try to look happy about it. I managed a weak smile as we turned to face the audience. The venue erupted in applause, whether genuine or simply because no one dared do otherwise I couldn't tell. Through the crowd I found Pum Pum. My son was crying and the sight tore at my heart. Jisoo held him close, her own face pale with shock and worry. I need to go to my son, I said urgently to CEO Han. Please, he's scared. Go. His hand on my arm stopped me before I could move. But Minju, you're my husband now. That means your son is under my protection. Bring him here. Let me meet him properly. I didn't want to. Every instinct screamed at me to grab Pum Pum and run as far and fast as I could. But I had no choice. I had made my decision, sealed my fate. I walked back down the aisle and Pum Pum immediately launched himself at me. Papa. Papa, what's happening? Why did you marry that scary man? Shoo, baby, it's okay, I soothed, holding him close even as I trembled. Everything is going to be okay. I promise. Minju, Jisoo grabbed my shoulders, her eyes wide with panic. What have you done? You can't just. I had to, I whispered. Jisoo, you saw. He would have destroyed us all. At least this way Pum Pum is protected. You're protected. But you, her voice broke. This isn't fair. This isn't right. Life rarely is. I managed to smile for her, trying to be brave even though I was terrified. Take care of yourself, okay? I'll contact you soon. I carried Pum Pum back to the altar where CEO Han waited. My son buried his face in my neck, refusing to look at the alpha who had just become his stepfather. He's scared, I said unnecessarily. I can see that. CEO Han studied us both. Then, surprisingly, he crouched down slightly, bringing himself closer to Pum Pum's level. What's your name? Silence. Pum Pum, I answered softly. His name is Pum Pum. Pum Pum. CEO Han repeated it, and something in his voice gentled almost imperceptibly. That's a strong name. How old are you, Pum Pum? My son finally peeked out from my neck. 4, he whispered. 4. That's a good age. CEO Han held out his hand. I'm Han Li. I know this is confusing and scary. But I want you to know something important. I will never hurt your papa. And I will never hurt you. Do you understand? Pum Pum looked at the offered hand with a child's wariness. Then to my surprise he slowly reached out and took it. His tiny hand disappeared in Seo Han's much larger one. "You're very tall," Pum Pum observed, his child's logic reasserting itself. "And strong-looking." "I am tall," Seo Han agreed. "And I am strong. Strong enough to protect you and your papa. Would you like that?" Pum Pum looked up at me seeking guidance. I nodded slightly, not sure what else to do. "Okay," my son said quietly. "But you have to be nice to papa. He's the best papa in the whole world." For the first time I saw Seo Han's expression truly soften. "I believe you. And yes, I will be nice to your papa." The rest of the day passed in a whirlwind. There was a reception, though it was subdued compared to what had obviously been planned. Seo Han kept me by his side the entire time, his hand possessive on my waist, playing the part of the besotted groom for the cameras and guests. "You're doing well," he murmured at one point. "Keep smiling. In a few hours this will all be over." "And then what?" I asked quietly. "What happens after the cameras stop flashing?" His dark eyes met mine. "Then we go home. To my home." "You're home now." "I have an apartment. I have a life." "Had," he corrected. "You had an apartment. You had a life. Now you have a new one. My staff are already moving your belongings." I stared at him in shock. "You had no right." "I have every right. You're my husband now, Park Minju. The sooner you accept that, the easier this will be for both of us." That night we left the venue in a black limousine. Pum Pum had fallen asleep against my side, exhausted by the day's emotions. Seo Han sat across from us, his gaze never leaving my face. "Tell me about yourself," he said suddenly. "What?" "Your history. Your family. I should know these things about my husband." "You should have thought of that before you forced me to marry you," I said, unable to keep the bitterness from my voice. His jaw tightened. "Careful, Omega. I've been patient today, but don't push me." "Or what?" "You'll do something worse than stealing my life." Silence fell between us, tense and hostile. But then Seo Han surprised me. "You're right," he said quietly. "I took something from you today. Your choice. Your freedom. And I won't apologize for it because I would do it again. I needed to save face, to show strength. But..." He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. "But that doesn't mean I want you to be miserable. So I'm asking. Tell me about yourself, Park Minju. Help me understand who you are." There was something in his voice, something almost vulnerable beneath the command. Maybe it was exhaustion or maybe it was the shock finally wearing off, but I found myself answering. "I'm 26, I said softly, stroking Pum Pum's hair. "I lost my parents when I was young. My sister Jisoo raised me. I married my beta husband, Byom Soo, when I was 20. We had Pum Pum a year later. Byom Soo died when Pum Pum was 1, a heart condition no one knew about. Since then it's been just the two of us. I work as an accountant at a small firm. I've been alone for 3 years." 3 years, Seo Han repeated. "That's a long time for an Omega to be without a mate." "I didn't want another mate," I said firmly. "I wasn't looking for one. I was happy with my life with my son. We didn't need anyone else. And now you have me." His voice was dark, almost amused. "Whether you want me or not." "Whether I want you or not," I echoed bitterly. The limousine pulled up to a building that made me catch my breath. It was one of the most exclusive residential towers in Seoul, where penthouse apartments went for prices I couldn't even imagine. "Welcome home," Seo Han said as the door opened. The penthouse was beyond anything I'd ever experienced. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the glittering Seoul skyline. Modern furniture mixed with traditional pieces in a way that spoke of wealth and taste. Everything was pristine, perfect, cold. "Pum Pum's room is down that hall," Seo Han directed. "My staff have already set it up based on information from your apartment. You can adjust anything you'd like." I carried my sleeping son to the room indicated and found it transformed into a child's paradise. Beautiful furniture, shelves full of toys and books, even a small art corner. Someone had paid attention to every detail. I laid Pum Pum down in the bed, tucking him in carefully. "Sleep well, baby," I whispered, kissing his forehead. "I'll keep you safe. I promise." When I emerged, Seo Han was waiting. "Your room is next to his," he said. "Mine is on the other side of the apartment. We won't be sharing a bedroom." I tried not to show my relief. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." His eyes raked over me again, that predatory gaze that made me shiver. "We may not share a bedroom tonight, but we are married, Minju. Eventually there will be expectations. Duties." Heat flushed through me, part fear, part something I didn't want to examine too closely. I understand. Do you? He moved closer and I caught his scent again, that intoxicating mix of whiskey and smoke. I won't force you. But I also won't wait forever. We're bound now, Omega. The sooner we accept that reality, the better. He left me standing in the hallway, my heart pounding, my mind reeling. I had just married a stranger. A powerful, dangerous alpha who had taken me because he could. And somehow, I had to find a way to survive this, to protect Pum Pum and myself while navigating the dangerous waters I'd been thrown into. What have I done? I thought as I finally made my way to my new bedroom. What have I done? I woke the next morning disoriented, forgetting for a moment where I was. The bed beneath me was too soft, too luxurious. The room around me was too spacious, too elegant. And then reality crashed back. The wedding, the forced vows, Seo Hanli. My husband. The word felt foreign, wrong. I sat up slowly, my body aching with tension I'd carried through a restless night. Sunlight streamed through windows I hadn't bothered to close, illuminating a room that was beautiful but felt nothing like home. Papa? I turned to find Pum Pum standing in the doorway, still in his pajamas. His hair was mussed from sleep, his eyes uncertain. Come here, baby. I opened my arms and he ran to me, climbing onto the bed and into my embrace. Did you sleep okay? The bed is really big, he said quietly. And there's a TV in my room. And so many toys. Papa, is this really our house now? It is, I said, stroking his hair. I know it's different. I know everything changed so fast. Are you okay? Pum Pum was quiet for a moment, thinking. The tall alpha man Hanli, he seems scary. But he promised not to hurt us. And you always tell me alphas keep their promises. That's right, I confirmed, my heart aching at his trust. Hanli is complicated. But he will keep his promises to us. Does this mean he's my new father? Pum Pum looked up at me with those intelligent eyes. Is that why you married him? I didn't know how to answer that. How do you explain to a 4-year-old that his papa was forced into marriage? That the world isn't always fair, that sometimes we have to make impossible choices? He's your stepfather now, I said carefully. But we're still getting to know him, okay? Give it time. A knock on the door interrupted us. Before I could respond, it opened to reveal a woman in her 50s, dressed in a neat uniform. Good morning, Mr. Park, she said with a respectful bow. I'm Mrs. Kong, the head housekeeper. Seo Han asked me to inform you that breakfast is ready. He's waiting in the dining room. Thank you, I managed, still not used to being called Mr. Park in this context, still not used to having housekeepers. We'll be there shortly. Mrs. Kong smiled kindly at Pum Pum. And you must be the young master. Your room is wonderful. Seo Han made sure everything was perfect for you. After she left, I quickly dressed Pum Pum and myself, choosing simple clothes from the wardrobes that had been mysteriously filled with our belongings. Someone had worked through the night to move us completely. The dining room was as impressive as the rest of the penthouse. A long table set with fine china, the morning spread lavish enough to feed 10 people. Seo Han sat at the head, dressed in a casual but expensive shirt and slacks, reading something on his tablet. He looked up when we entered, his dark eyes assessing. Good morning. Good morning, I replied stiffly, leading Pum Pum to seats near the other end of the table. Come closer, Seo Han directed. Sit here next to me. Both of you. It wasn't a request. I guided Pum Pum to the indicated chairs and we sat. The alpha's scent was stronger this morning, less controlled. It made my omega instincts rise, made me hyper-aware of his presence. Did you sleep well? He asked, his gaze on me. Fine, I lied. His lips quirked slightly. He knew I was lying but didn't call me on it. Pum Pum? What about you? My son nodded, still shy around this intimidating stranger. The room is nice. Thank you. You're welcome. Seo Han set down his tablet, giving Pum Pum his full attention. I thought that today after breakfast we could go shopping. You'll need new clothes for your new school. New school? I interjected sharply. His kindergarten is fine. He's happy there. His kindergarten is across the city, Seo Han countered calmly. And not appropriate for the son of a CEO. I've enrolled him in Sungkyun Academy. It's the best in Seoul. You had no right, I started, my voice rising. I have every right. He's my stepson now. His education is my responsibility. Seo Han's voice was firm but not harsh. The academy has better resources, better teachers, and better security. Surely you want the best for your son? Of course I did. But I hated how he made it sound like I'd been failing Pum Pum, like what I could provide wasn't enough. Papa? Pum Pum tugged my sleeve. What's wrong? I forced myself to calm down to remember my son was watching. Nothing, baby. Everything's fine. Pum Pum, Siohan said, his voice gentler. Would you like to go to a new school? One with a big playground and lots of new friends. My son looked between us, sensing the tension. Will Papa still take me? I will make sure your Papa is involved in every part of your life, Siohan promised. But I'll also help. I'll take you sometimes. Too, if you'd like. We can go together. Like a family? Pum Pum asked hesitantly. Something shifted in Siohan's expression, something almost vulnerable. Yes, like a family. Breakfast continued in tense silence, broken only by Pum Pum's occasional questions. I could feel Siohan watching me, studying me, and it made me increasingly uncomfortable. After we finished eating, Mrs. Kong appeared to take Pum Pum to get ready for the shopping trip. Once we were alone, Siohan turned to me. We need to talk. About what? About how you've taken over every aspect of my life without asking. About how you're making decisions about my son without consulting me. About how we're going to make this work, he said evenly. I know you're angry. I know you feel trapped. But the reality is we're married now. The media is already spinning stories about us. The heartbroken CEO who found unexpected love, the mysterious Omega who captured his heart. We need to present a united front. Or what? I challenged. What happens if I don't play along with your little performance? Siohan stood, moving around the table toward me. I instinctively backed up until I hit the wall. He placed one hand beside my head, leaning in close, surrounding me with his presence and scent. If you don't play along, he said quietly, dangerously, then everyone will know this marriage is a sham. They'll dig into your past, into your life. They'll make you and Pum Pum's existence hell. Is that what you want? No, I whispered, hating how weak I sounded. Then cooperate. Smile for the cameras. Act like a happily married Omega. Give it time and maybe... He paused, his eyes searching mine. Maybe it won't be entirely an act. You think I could actually care for you? After what you did? I think you're smart enough to make the best of a difficult situation. His hand came up, almost touching my face before he stopped himself. I think you're stronger than you realize. And I think, given time, we might surprise each other. Before I could respond, Pum Pum's voice called out. Papa. I'm ready. Siohan stepped back, the moment broken. We'll continue this conversation later. For now, let's focus on Pum Pum. The shopping trip was surreal. We went to the most expensive children's boutique in Seoul, where staff fawned over us. Siohan selected clothes with surprising care, asking Pum Pum's opinion, noting his preferences. My son slowly warmed to him, especially when Siohan bought him a robot toy he'd been admiring. You'll spoil him, I said quietly as we watched Pum Pum play with his new toy in the car. Is that so bad? Siohan replied. When was the last time he had something new? Something just because he wanted it? I flushed, embarrassed. I give him what I can. I know. And you've done an excellent job raising him alone. But you're not alone anymore, Minju. Let me help. Let me give him things. Let me give you things. I don't want your money. Maybe not. But you need it. And more than that, you deserve it. You're my husband now. That comes with certain benefits. That night, after Pum Pum was asleep, I found myself standing on the penthouse balcony, looking out over Seoul. The city glittered like stars had fallen to earth, beautiful and distant. Couldn't sleep? I turned to find Siohan behind me, holding 2 glasses of wine. He offered me one, and after a moment's hesitation I took it. Too much has changed too fast, I admitted. Yesterday morning I was just Park Min-ju, single father, accountant. Now I'm this. The husband of Han Lee, he said, coming to stand beside me at the railing. One of the most powerful men in Korea. I never wanted power. I know. That's part of why I chose you. At my questioning look, he continued. You were wearing white at my wedding. You looked innocent, pure, like you didn't belong in that world of politics and schemes. You had your son with you, a sign of family, stability. And when I looked at you, I saw someone who wasn't trying to use me, wasn't calculating what they could gain. You were just there. Real. And that was enough to change my entire life? That was enough to make you useful, he corrected, but his voice wasn't cruel. I needed someone quickly. Someone the media would sympathize with. But now that I have you. He paused, taking a sip of his wine. Now I'm beginning to think I might have been luckier than I planned. Don't. I set down my glass. Don't try to make this romantic. Don't try to pretend you care. You took me because you could, because your pride was wounded. Let's not add lies to the list of problems between us. Seo Han was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer than I'd heard before. You're right. I took you out of pride, out of necessity. But that doesn't mean I'm incapable of caring. It just means we're starting from a difficult place. He turned to face me fully. I want to make you an offer. What kind of offer? Give me 6 months. 6 months to prove that this marriage can work, that I can be a good husband and a good father to Pum Pum. If after 6 months you're truly miserable, if you genuinely want out, I'll give you a divorce. A quiet one with enough money to set you up for life. I stared at him shocked. You're serious? Completely. But there are conditions. During these 6 months you have to actually try. You have to let me in, let me be part of your life and Pum Pum's life. You have to give this a genuine chance. And if I refuse? Then we stay married indefinitely with this tension between us, this constant battle. Which would you prefer? I looked out at the city again, weighing his words. 6 months. Half a year to endure this, but with a light at the end of the tunnel. Or I could refuse and remain trapped forever. What about Pum Pum? I asked. If we divorce, how do we explain it to him? He's already getting attached to you. Then we'll make sure it doesn't come to that, Seo Han said quietly. We'll make sure that in 6 months, none of us want this to end. The confidence in his voice should have annoyed me. Instead, it sent a strange flutter through my chest. Fine, I heard myself say. 6 months. But I have conditions too. Name them. First, any decisions about Pum Pum have to be discussed with me first. I'm his parent. My voice matters. Agreed. Second, you don't touch me intimately unless I clearly consent. No using your alpha influence to force anything. His jaw tightened, but he nodded. Agreed. Though I want it noted that I would never force myself on you regardless. Third. I hesitated. You let me keep working. I need something that's mine, some independence. I'd prefer you didn't. That's non-negotiable. We stared at each other, a battle of wills. Finally he nodded. Fine. But you'll work for my company in a position suitable for my husband's status. I won't have you at some small firm where you're undervalued. Deal. I held out my hand and he took it. His hand was warm, strong, completely engulfing mine. 6 months, Park Min-ju, he said softly. Let's see what we can build. The next few weeks fell into a strange routine. Pum Pum started at his new school and loved it, making friends quickly and showing off his intelligence. Seo Han, who insisted I call him Hanli in private, drove him to school twice a week, something that delighted my son to no end. Papa, did you see? Hanli let me sit in the front seat. Pum Pum would exclaim, eyes bright with excitement. I started my new position at Han Industries working in the financial analysis department. The work was challenging but satisfying, and my colleagues treated me with a careful respect that made it clear they knew exactly who I was married to. At home, Hanli and I maintained a polite distance. We had dinner together every night, his rule one I'd agreed to for Pum Pum's sake. Afterward, Hanli would often play with Pum Pum, building elaborate structures with blocks or helping with simple homework. Watching them together did something strange to my heart. Hanli was patient with Pum Pum in a way I'd never expected. He listened when my son talked about his day, asked thoughtful questions, remembered details about Pum Pum's friends and interests. He's good with him, Jisoo observed one afternoon when she came to visit. I never would have expected it. We were sitting in the penthouse living room while Pum Pum and Hanli played a board game nearby. My sister had been horrified by my forced marriage but had gradually relaxed as she saw I wasn't being mistreated. Neither did I admitted quietly. He's not what I expected. Are you falling for him? Jisoo asked bluntly. What? No. Absolutely not. But even as I said it, I felt uncertain. It's only been a few weeks, and he blackmailed me into this marriage. I can't just forget that. But you're softening toward him. I can see it. Before I could respond, Pum Pum's delighted laughter rang out. Hanli had apparently let him win the game, and my son was celebrating with characteristic exuberance. Again. Let's play again. Pum Pum demanded. All right, one more game, Hanli agreed. But then you need to do your reading practice. Okay. Pum Pum started setting up the board again. Then he paused, looking at Hanli with that serious expression he sometimes wore. Hanli? Can I ask you something? Of course. Can I call you something else? The kids at school, they all call their alpha fathers, Appa. Could I call you that? Or is that wrong because you're not really my Appa? I froze, my heart clenching. This was dangerous territory, Pum Pum getting too attached, building bonds that might shatter if the marriage ended. But Han Li's expression had gone very soft. He reached out, gently touching Pum Pum's head. You can call me whatever makes you comfortable. If you want to call me Appa, I would be honored. Really? Pum Pum's face lit up. Even though I'm not really your son? You are my son, Han Li said firmly. Not by blood but by choice. I married your papa, which means you're my family now. That makes you my son in every way that matters. Pum Pum threw himself at Han Li, hugging him tightly. Thank you, Appa. I had to look away, blinking rapidly against sudden tears. Jisoo squeezed my hand, understanding without words. That night, after Pum Pum was asleep and Jisoo had left, I found Han Li in his study. He looked up from his laptop as I entered. We need to talk, I said. He closed the laptop immediately, giving me his full attention. About this afternoon. You can't do that, I said, my voice shaking. You can't let him get that attached. What happens in 6 months if I choose to leave? You'll break his heart. Then don't leave. Han Li stood, moving around the desk toward me. Stay. Make this real. We had a deal. I know what we agreed. But Minju, look at what we've built in just a few weeks. Pum Pum is happy. You're thriving at work. We're becoming a family. A family built on blackmail and coercion, I shot back. A family nonetheless. He was close now, close enough that I could smell his scent, feel the warmth radiating from his body. I won't lie, this started badly. I took something from you that I had no right to take. But I'm trying to make it right. Doesn't that count for something? I don't know, I whispered honestly. I don't know what to feel anymore. His hand came up slowly, giving me plenty of time to pull away, and cupped my cheek. Then feel this. He leaned in, and this time when his lips met mine, it wasn't the perfunctory kiss from our wedding. This was real, deep, full of heat and intention. His alpha pheromones washed over me, making my omega instincts sing with recognition and want. I gasped against his mouth, and he took advantage, deepening the kiss. His arms came around me, pulling me against his solid body. I could feel his strength, his warmth, the way he held me like I was precious. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. Tell me you felt nothing, Han Li challenged, his voice rough. Tell me there's no chemistry between us. Chemistry isn't enough, I managed, though my body was still singing from his touch. Chemistry doesn't erase what you did. No, it doesn't. But it's a start. His thumb brushed across my lips, still swollen from his kiss. I want you, Minju. Not as a trophy or a convenient spouse. I want you, your fire, your strength, the way you fight for what you love. I want to earn your trust, your respect. And eventually, your affection. You're asking for a lot. I know. But I'm willing to work for it. He stepped back, releasing me. Think about it. Think about whether this is really so terrible. Whether maybe, just maybe, we could have something real. I fled to my room, my mind spinning, my body still humming from his kiss. I couldn't deny the attraction. He was devastatingly handsome, powerful, and surprisingly gentle with Pum Pum. But attraction wasn't love. And I'd been hurt too badly to trust easily. The weeks continued to pass. Han Li was true to his word. He didn't push me physically, though I often caught him watching me with heated eyes that made my stomach flip. He consulted me on decisions about Pum Pum. He was respectful, patient, attentive. He was also driving me slowly insane. Every casual touch, his hand on my back as we entered a room, his fingers brushing mine as we passed dishes at dinner, sent electricity through me. Every smile he directed at Pum Pum made my heart soften. Every thoughtful gesture chipped away at my resistance. One evening, about 2 months into our marriage, Han Li had to attend a business dinner. I'd begged off, claiming exhaustion, but Pum Pum had insisted on staying up to see his Appa when he got home. Tell me a story, Papa? Pum Pum asked as we curled up on the couch together. What kind of story? A story about you and Appa. How did you fall in love? I froze. We'd avoided this question, managing to deflect Pum Pum's curiosity with vague answers. But now he was looking at me with such genuine curiosity that I couldn't just brush him off. Well, I began carefully. We met at a wedding. And Appa saw me and decided right then that he wanted to marry me. Wow, that fast. Pum Pum's eyes were wide. That's so romantic. Like in the movies. Something like that, I murmured, not wanting to lie but not ready to tell the truth. Do you love him, Papa? Pum Pum asked seriously. Because I do. I love Appa. He's the best father ever. My throat tightened. I'm glad you love him, baby. But do you love him? Before I could answer, the penthouse door opened. Han entered, looking tired but striking in his tailored suit. His eyes found us on the couch and his expression softened immediately. Appa. Pum Pum scrambled off the couch and ran to him. You're home. I am. Han scooped him up easily, despite Pum Pum's protest that he was getting too big for that. And what are you still doing awake, young man? I wanted to see you. Papa was telling me about how you two fell in love. Han's eyes met mine over Pum Pum's head, questioning. I looked away embarrassed. Is that so? Han said, his voice warm with amusement. And what did Papa say? That you saw him at a wedding and knew right away you wanted to marry him. That's so cool, Appa. It is true, Han said softly, still looking at me. The moment I saw your Papa, I knew my life was about to change. I knew he was special. Something in his voice made my heart race. He sounded sincere, like he meant every word. All right, Pum Pum, time for bed, I said, needing to escape the intensity of Han's gaze. It's way past your bedtime. After tucking Pum Pum in, I tried to go straight to my room. But Han was waiting in the hallway. Minju. It's late. I'm tired. He asked if you loved me. It wasn't a question. What did you say? I didn't get a chance to answer. Would you have told him the truth? Han moved closer. Would you have said no? I don't know what the truth is anymore, I admitted quietly. 2 months ago I hated you. Now I don't know what I feel. Then let me show you. He pulled something from his pocket, a small velvet box. I should have done this properly the first time. He opened the box to reveal a stunning ring, an emerald surrounded by diamonds, clearly worth a fortune. This belonged to my mother. She left it to me to give to my spouse. I want you to have it. Han, I can't. You can. You're my husband, Minju. And I know I forced that on you, but I want to make it real. I want to court you properly, to woo you the way you deserve. He took my hand gently. Let me try. Let me show you that this can be more than a business arrangement. He slid the ring onto my finger next to the simple band from our wedding. It fit perfectly, catching the light and sparkling. It's beautiful, I whispered. So are you. He lifted my hand, pressing a kiss to my knuckles. Give me a chance, Minju. A real chance. That night, lying in bed, I stared at the ring on my finger. It was undeniably beautiful, but more than that, it represented something I'd been trying to deny. Han was serious about this marriage. About me. About us. And terrifyingly, I was beginning to feel the same way. The following week, Han surprised me by canceling all his afternoon meetings. We're going out, he announced over breakfast. Out where? I asked suspiciously. On a date. A proper one. He smiled at Pum Pum, who was eating his cereal enthusiastically. Mrs. Kong will take care of our son. You and I are spending the day together. But I have work. Which I've already cleared with your supervisor. His smile was teasing now. No excuses, Omega. I'm taking you on a date. Pum Pum clapped his hands excitedly. Yeah. Papa needs to go on dates. That's what people do when they're married. See? Even our son approves, Han said smugly. I wanted to protest, but truthfully the idea didn't sound terrible. Fine. But nothing too extravagant. I want normal. Normal? Han repeated thoughtfully. I can do normal. An hour later we were walking through Namsan Park, Han having surprised me by choosing one of Seoul's most popular but casual destinations. He was dressed down for once, jeans and a simple shirt, though he still looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine. I used to come here when I first started my company, he told me as we walked along the tree-lined paths. When things got stressful, I'd walk these trails and think. Really? I can't imagine you doing something so normal, I admitted. He laughed, a genuine sound that made my stomach flip. I wasn't always this intimidating, you know? Once upon a time, I was just a kid with big dreams and no money. Tell me about it, I said, surprising myself with my curiosity. Tell me about before you became the ruthless CEO Han Lee. We found a bench overlooking the city and he told me his story. About growing up poor after his father's business failed. About his mother working multiple jobs to support them. About her death when he was 20, and how he'd vowed to build an empire so no one he loved would ever struggle again. I became ruthless because the world is ruthless, he said quietly. I learned that being kind, being soft only got you hurt. So I made myself hard. Untouchable. Is that why you reacted the way you did at the wedding? I asked gently. When your fiancé left you? His jaw tightened. Partly. Sungjin and I, we were never in love. It was a business arrangement, pure and simple. But the public humiliation, the loss of face, That was intolerable. I couldn't show weakness. So you grabbed the nearest Omega and forced him to marry you instead. I did. He turned to look at me directly. And I won't pretend it was right. But Minju, I'm not sorry it was you. Why? I asked, genuinely confused. Why me specifically? Because you're real, he said simply. Because when I look at you, I don't see calculation or ambition. I see a man who loves his son more than anything. A man who works hard, who survived tragedy, who's stronger than he knows. You make me want to be better than the monster I've become. His words struck something deep inside me. I'd been so focused on my anger, my resentment, that I hadn't let myself see him clearly. But now, sitting here listening to his story, I saw someone just as wounded as I was. Someone who'd built walls to protect themselves just like I had. I'm not a saint either, I confessed. I've been holding on to my anger because it felt safer than letting you in. Because if I let you in and you hurt me, I swallowed hard. I don't know if I could survive that again. I can't promise I won't hurt you, Hanli said honestly. I'm not perfect. I'm demanding, possessive, and yes, ruthless when I need to be. But I can promise that I'll never deliberately cause you pain. And I'll do everything in my power to make you happy. He took my hand, threading his fingers through mine. I know I'm asking you to trust someone who gave you every reason not to. But I'm asking anyway. Trust me, Minju. Let me prove that I can be what you and Pum Pum need. I looked down at our joined hands, his so much larger than mine, strong and warm. I don't know if I can. Then let me show you. He stood, pulling me up with him. Come on. There's something else I want to show you. We took his car to a part of Seoul I'd never visited. An older neighborhood, less polished than the gleaming downtown areas. Hanli parked outside a modest building. This is where I grew up, he said quietly. That window on the third floor, that was our apartment. My mother and I shared one bedroom. We had so little, but she made it feel like home. Why are you showing me this? Because I want you to understand. The man who forced you into marriage, that's the person I became out of necessity. But this. He gestured to the building. This is who I was. Who I still am, underneath everything else. I'm showing you because I want you to know the real me. We walked through the neighborhood, Hanli pointing out places from his childhood. The small restaurant where his mother worked, the school he attended, the park where he used to study because their apartment was too noisy. After my mother died, I sold everything, moved into a tiny studio, and worked 20-hour days to build my company, he continued. I told myself I was doing it to honor her memory, to make sure her sacrifice wasn't in vain. But really I was running. From grief, from pain, from feeling anything at all. Until your wedding day, I said softly. Until my wedding day, he agreed. When Sungjin left me there, all that grief and pain came rushing back. I felt like that helpless kid again, powerless to stop bad things from happening. So I did what I'd learned to do. I took control by any means necessary. He stopped walking, turning to face me. I took control of you and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Minju. It was the first time he'd truly apologized without qualifications or excuses. And hearing it, seeing the genuine remorse in his eyes, something inside me shifted. I forgive you, I heard myself say. I don't know when it happened exactly, but I forgive you. The relief on his face was palpable. Thank you. You don't know what that means to me. I think I'm beginning to understand, I admitted. You're not the monster I thought you were. You're just human. Flawed and complicated like everyone else. Does this mean you'll give us a real chance? Not just because of our agreement, but because you want to. I thought about the past 2 months. About how Hanli had been with Pum Pum, patient, loving, attentive. About how he'd respected my boundaries while making his interest clear. About how, despite everything, I found myself looking forward to seeing him each day. Yes, I said quietly. I want to give us a real chance. The smile that broke across his face was brilliant, transforming his usually stern features into something breathtaking. You won't regret this. I promise you won't regret this. He pulled me close and I let him, relaxing into his embrace. His scent surrounded me and for the first time, instead of fighting my Omega instincts, I let them guide me. Let myself feel the rightness of being held by this alpha. Can I kiss you? He asked softly. Really kiss you, not because we're in public or because someone's watching, but just because I want to? Yes, I breathed. This kiss was different from the one in his study. That had been heat and desire. This was tender, almost reverent. Hanli kissed me like I was something precious, something worth cherishing. His hands cradled my face gently, his lips moving against mine with patient passion. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. I'm falling for you, he whispered. I think I started falling the moment I saw you in that white suit, looking like an angel who'd wandered into hell. And every day since I've fallen a little bit more. I'm scared, I admitted. Scared of how much I'm starting to feel. Scared of getting hurt again. I'm scared too, he confessed. Scared of messing this up, of not being good enough for you. But Minju, I want to try anyway. Will you let me? Yes, I said again, and this time I meant it with every fiber of my being. Yes, I'll let you. We spent the rest of the day together, talking and laughing more freely than we ever had before. Hanli bought street food from vendors, insisting I try everything. We visited a small arcade, where he was adorably bad at the claw machine games. We walked hand in hand through streets lit by evening lanterns, and it felt almost normal. Like we were a regular couple falling in love, rather than two people bound by forced circumstance. Thank you for today, I told him as we drove home. For sharing your past with me. For being honest. Thank you for listening. For giving me a chance. He brought my hand to his lips, kissing it softly. When we get home, I want to talk to you about something important. What? Let's wait. Until we're there. Back at the penthouse, after checking on a sleeping Pum-Pum, Hanli led me to his study. He poured us each a drink and gestured for me to sit. I've been thinking about our arrangement, he began. The 6-month trial period. My heart sank. Was he going to tell me he wanted to extend it? Or end it early? I want to cancel it, he continued. Not because I want to trap you, but because I don't want this hanging over us. I don't want you wondering every day if I'm counting down until I can be free of you. I want you to stay because you choose to, not because of any deadline or agreement. But what if things don't work out? I asked, confused. What if in a few months we realize this was a mistake? Then we'll deal with it then like any married couple would. But Minju, I don't believe that's going to happen. I believe we can make this work. And I want you to believe it too. He knelt in front of my chair, taking both my hands in his. Marry me again. Not because I'm forcing you, not because of public perception or business arrangements. Marry me because you want to. Let me court you properly, and when you're ready, when you're absolutely certain, we'll have another ceremony. A real one where you choose me freely. Tears pricked my eyes. You really mean that? I've never meant anything more in my life. His thumb stroked over my knuckles. I want you to love me, Minju. Not because you feel obligated or trapped, but because you genuinely care. I want to earn that love even if it takes years. You're already earning it, I whispered. I'm already starting to care, and it terrifies me. Let it terrify us together then. He stood, pulling me up with him. Let's be scared and brave and stupid together. Let's take this insane situation and turn it into something beautiful. I looked up at him, this powerful, complicated man who'd entered my life like a storm but was slowly becoming my shelter. Okay, let's do it. Let's make this real. The joy on his face was everything. He lifted me off my feet, spinning me around, and I laughed, genuinely laughed, for the first time in what felt like forever. When he set me down, his eyes were dark with want. Can I take you to bed? Not to. I just want to hold you. To sleep beside you. I've been imagining it for weeks. My heart raced, but I nodded. Yes, I think I'd like that. We went to his bedroom, larger than mine, with a massive bed and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. It felt intimate, being in his private space, seeing where he slept. I gestured to the bathroom, suddenly nervous. When I emerged in my sleep clothes, Hanli was already in bed, bare-chested and devastatingly attractive. He held up the covers invitingly, and I slipped in beside him. Come here, he murmured, pulling me against his chest. I went willingly, tucking myself against his warm body. His arm wrapped around me securely, and his scent, stronger here in his bed, in his space, surrounded me completely. Is this okay? He asked softly. Yes, I breathed. This is perfect. We lay there in the darkness, his hand stroking slowly up and down my back. It was soothing, comforting, and also thrilling to be this close to him. Minju. I'm going to kiss you again. I can't help myself. I tilted my face up, finding his lips in the darkness. This kiss was slower, deeper, full of promise and potential. His tongue swept into my mouth, claiming me gently, and I responded eagerly, my hands fisting in his hair. He rolled us carefully so he was above me, his weight pressing me into the mattress in a way that made my omega instincts sing with approval. This was right. This was where I belonged, beneath this alpha, protected and cherished. We should stop, he groaned against my lips even as his hips pressed forward, letting me feel his arousal. I don't want to rush you. Then don't, I managed breathlessly. Don't stop. I want this. I want you. Are you sure? His eyes searched mine in the dim light. Because once we start, Minju, I don't think I'll be able to hold back. I've wanted you for so long. I'm sure, I whispered, pulling him back down to me. I'm yours, Hanli. Take me. Claim me. Make this marriage real in every way. The growl that rumbled from his chest was pure alpha, possessive, hungry, desperate. Mine, he breathed against my neck. You're mine, Omega. Now and always. And then there were no more words, only sensation and heat and the feeling of finally coming home. I woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and a warm, solid presence behind me. For a moment I was disoriented. Then the memories of the previous night came flooding back and I felt my face heat. Han Li's arm was wrapped around my waist, his body curved protectively around mine. I could feel his steady breathing against my neck, feel the intimate press of skin against skin beneath the sheets. We'd really done it. We'd consummated our marriage in the most thorough, passionate way possible. My body ached pleasantly, marked by Han Li's possessive attentions. He'd been insatiable, claiming me over and over throughout the night, whispering praise and promises against my skin. And I'd responded with equal fervor, discovering a passionate side of myself I'd forgotten existed. I can feel you overthinking, Han Li's sleep-rough voice rumbled against my ear. Stop it. How do you know I'm overthinking? Because your body just tensed up. His arm tightened around me, pulling me impossibly closer. And because I'm getting to know you, Minju. You're a worrier. He was right, of course. I was already second-guessing everything, wondering if we'd moved too fast, if I'd made a mistake. Hey. Han Li gently turned me to face him. His hair was mussed from sleep and my fingers running through it last night. His eyes were soft, still heavy-lidded. He looked younger like this, less intimidating. Where's your head at? I don't know, I admitted. Everything's different now. We've crossed a line we can't uncross. Is that a bad thing? His hand came up to cup my cheek. Because I thought last night was perfect. I thought it was the beginning of something real between us. It was perfect, I agreed softly. Maybe that's what scares me. This is all happening so fast. 2 months ago I didn't even know you existed. Now I'm in your bed, having given myself to you completely. And that terrifies you, he finished gently. I understand, Minju. After what you went through with Bom Su, after losing him so suddenly, of course you're afraid to let someone in again. But I'm not going anywhere. I'm yours now, just as you're mine. Before I could respond, there was a knock on the door. Appa? Papa? Are you awake? We both froze. Pum. Just a minute, sweetheart. I called out, scrambling for clothes. Han Li grabbed a pair of pajama pants, and I threw on his discarded shirt from last night, which fell to mid-thigh on me. When Han Li opened the door, Pum stood there with a curious expression. His eyes went from Han Li to me, taking in my disheveled appearance in his Appa's shirt. Did Papa sleep in here? He asked innocently. Yes, I did, I said, trying to sound casual. Appa and we wanted to spend time together. Like married people do? Pum's face lit up. That's so good. My friend Jihun says his parents sleep in the same room. That means they really love each other. Han Li and I exchanged glances. Out of the mouths of babes. That's right, Han Li said, ruffling Pum's hair. Your papa and I are becoming a real family. Is that okay with you? It's the best. Pum hugged both of our legs enthusiastically. I'm so happy. Now I have the best papa and the best appa in the whole world. After breakfast, during which Pum chattered non-stop about his upcoming school field trip, Han Li announced he was taking the day off work. Both of us are, he added, looking at me meaningfully. We're spending the day as a family. But I have that presentation to finish. I started. Which can wait until Monday. Minju, when was the last time you took a day off just to enjoy yourself? I couldn't remember. Since Bom Su died, every day had been about survival, about making sure Pum and I had what we needed. We're going to the amusement park. Pum cheered when Han Li told him the plan. All three of us together. The park was crowded with families enjoying the weekend. At first, I felt self-conscious. We were getting looks, particularly when people recognized Han Li. The ruthless CEO in casual clothes, playing with a child and holding hands with an Omega, was apparently newsworthy. But gradually I stopped caring about the stares. I was too busy watching Pum's pure joy as Han Li won him a stuffed animal at a game booth. Too busy laughing as the three of us rode roller coasters. Too busy feeling like maybe, just maybe, we really were becoming a real family. Papa. Appa. Can we go on the Ferris wheel? Pum Pum asked, pointing to the giant structure. Of course, Hanli agreed. Your papa's probably tired of all these fast rides anyway. He wasn't wrong. As we climbed into the Ferris wheel car, Pum Pum between us, I felt pleasantly exhausted. Look, Papa. You can see everything from up here. Pum Pum pressed his face against the glass, watching the city spread below us. I smiled, my heart full. This moment, this simple, perfect moment, was everything I'd secretly longed for but been too afraid to dream about. A complete family. Happiness. Peace. You're beautiful when you smile like that, Hanli murmured, low enough that only I could hear. Radiant. I blushed, glancing at him. His eyes were warm, full of affection. He reached across Pum Pum to take my hand, threading our fingers together. Thank you, he said softly. For what? For giving us a chance. For letting me in. For making me want to be a better man. He squeezed my hand gently. I meant what I said last night, Minju. I'm falling in love with you. Maybe I've been falling since that first day. And I just wanted you to know. My breath caught. Hanli. You don't have to say it back. I know it's too soon for you. But I wanted you to know where I stand. Where my heart is. He smiled, vulnerability and confidence mixing in his expression. I'm yours, Park Minju. Completely. Tears pricked my eyes. I'm not there yet, I admitted. But I'm getting there. You make me feel things I didn't think I could feel again. You make me hope. That's enough, he said. That's more than enough. Over the following weeks, we settled into our new dynamic. I officially moved into Hanli's bedroom, though we kept my old room for nights when one of us needed space. We had sex frequently. Hanli's desire for me seemed insatiable, and I found myself equally hungry for his touch. He was an attentive lover, learning my body with meticulous care, discovering what made me gasp and moan. He was also possessive, marking my neck with his teeth, growling about how good I smelled, how perfect I felt. But it wasn't just physical. He courted me with thoughtful gestures, bringing me coffee in the mornings, leaving notes in my briefcase, surprising me with my favorite foods. He listened when I talked about my day, offered advice without being condescending, made me feel valued and heard. With Pum Pum he was patient and loving. He attended every school event, helped with homework, played endless games. My son flourished under the attention, becoming more confident and outgoing. Papa, Pum Pum said one evening as I tucked him into bed. I'm really happy now. Are you happy too? Yes, baby, I said honestly. I'm very happy. Good. Because I was worried before. You used to be sad sometimes even when you smiled. But now you smile for real. Appa makes you happy. Out of the mouths of babes indeed. My 4-year-old had seen what I'd been trying to hide, that I'd been merely surviving, not living. Until Hanli. That night I found Hanli in his study reviewing contracts. He looked up when I entered, immediately setting aside his work. Minju? Everything okay? I crossed to him, straddling his lap in the chair. His hands immediately came to my waist, steadying me, his eyes darkening with interest. Pum Pum said something tonight. I told him, my hands resting on his shoulders. He said you make me happy. Make me smile for real. He's a smart kid, Hanli murmured, his fingers flexing against my hips. Does his appa make him happy? So happy. He loves you so much, Hanli. I took a deep breath, gathering my courage. And I think I'm falling in love with you too. His eyes widened, genuine shock crossing his features. Minju. I fought it for so long. Told myself it was too fast, that I was just getting caught up in the situation. But it's not that. The way you are with Pum Pum. The way you touch me. The way you make me feel safe and cherished and wanted. I cupped his face in my hands. I'm falling in love with you, Hanli. And it's terrifying and wonderful, and I wanted you to know. He surged up, capturing my lips in a searing kiss. Say it again, he demanded against my mouth. I need to hear it again. I'm falling in love with you. Again. I love you, Hanli. The sound he made was purely alpha, possessive, triumphant, desperate. He stood, lifting me with him, my legs wrapping around his waist. Where? I gasped as he carried me. Bedroom. No. I need you. Need to show you? He didn't finish the sentence, too busy claiming my mouth again. We made love urgently, passionately, Hanli whispering praise and promises against my skin. And afterward, as we lay tangled together, he held me close. I never thought I'd have this, he confessed quietly. A real family. Someone who loves me for who I am, not what I can do for them. You and Pum Pum, you're everything, Minju. My whole world. You're our world too, I whispered back. We're a family now. A real one. As I drifted off to sleep in his arms, I felt at peace for the first time in years. We still had challenges ahead, still had to navigate the complexities of our situation. But we'd face them together. We were a family. And nothing would tear us apart. 3 months into what I now considered our real marriage, life had settled into a beautiful routine. Hanli and I were genuinely happy. He no longer hid his affection in public, often pulling me close at company events or stealing kisses when he thought no one was watching. Pum Pum thrived, his vocabulary expanding to include endless stories about my appa to anyone who would listen. But that morning, as I stood in the bathroom staring at the positive pregnancy test in my trembling hands, everything felt surreal. Pregnant. I was pregnant with Han Li's child. My hand instinctively went to my still flat stomach. We'd been careful at first, but as our relationship deepened, we'd grown careless in our passion. And now, Papa. Appa says breakfast is ready. Pum Pum's voice called from outside the bathroom. I quickly hid the test, splashing water on my face to compose myself. I needed time to think, to process this before I told Han Li. At breakfast, Han Li immediately noticed something was off. You're quiet this morning, he observed, studying me with those perceptive dark eyes. Are you feeling all right? Just tired, I said, which wasn't entirely a lie. The fatigue had been creeping up on me for days, though I'd attributed it to stress at work. Maybe you should stay home today. Rest. His hand covered mine on the table. I can have Dr. Kim come check on you if you're not feeling well. No. I said too quickly, then softened my tone. No, I'm fine. Really. Just need more coffee. But even as I said it, the smell of the coffee made my stomach turn. I pushed the cup away and Han Li's eyes narrowed with concern. After he left for an early meeting and Pum Pum was settled with his tutor, I called Jisoo. I need you, I said simply. Can you come over? She arrived within the hour, taking one look at my face and immediately pulling me into a hug. What's wrong? Did Han Li do something? I swear if he hurt you. I'm pregnant, I blurted out. Jisoo froze, then pulled back to stare at me. You're, what? Pregnant? With Han Li's baby. I took 3 tests this morning. All positive. A slow smile spread across her face. Minju, that's wonderful. Isn't it? You look terrified. I am terrified, I admitted, sinking onto the couch. Jisoo, we've only been really together for 3 months. What if this is too fast? What if Han Li doesn't want this? What if? Stop. She sat beside me, gripping my shoulders. First, Han Li is crazy about you. Anyone with eyes can see that. Second, he adores Pum Pum. Why would another child be a problem? And third, you're spiraling. Breathe. I took a shaky breath. Pum Pum has been asking for a sibling. He keeps talking about how his friends have baby brothers and sisters. But wanting one and actually having one are different things. So tell them both. Tonight. Minju, this is good news. Let it be good news. That evening, after Pum Pum was in bed, I asked Han Li to join me in the living room. My hands were shaking as I held the pregnancy test behind my back. You've been acting strange all day, Han Li said, sitting beside me. His alpha instincts were clearly on alert. Minju, whatever it is, just tell me. You're making me nervous. I'm pregnant, I said, bringing the test out from behind my back. We're having a baby. The silence that followed felt eternal. Han Li stared at the test, then at me, his expression unreadable. My heart sank. He was upset, disappointed, angry. Then he grabbed me, pulling me onto his lap and kissing me desperately. When he pulled back, his eyes were wet. We're having a baby? His voice cracked with emotion. Really? You're sure? 3 tests sure, I said, relief flooding through me. You're happy? Happy. He laughed, the sound slightly hysterical. Minju, I'm ecstatic. Terrified but ecstatic. His hand came to rest on my stomach reverently. Our baby. A piece of you and me. I was so scared you wouldn't want this, I admitted. That it was too soon. Too soon? Minju, I've wanted everything with you since the moment I realized I was falling in love with you. A life, a family, forever. This baby is a gift. He kissed me again, softer this time. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this. We told Pum Pum the next morning over breakfast. I'd worried about how he'd react, but his response was immediate and enthusiastic. Really? I'm going to be a big brother? His eyes went wide. Yes. Yes. I asked for this, Papa. I've been asking forever. I know you have, baby, I said, laughing at his excitement. Can we tell everyone? Can I tell my friends at school? Can I help pick out names? And can I teach the baby things? I'm going to be the best big brother ever. Hanli met my eyes over Pum Pum's head, his expression soft with love and wonder. You're already the best big brother, he assured Pum Pum. This baby is lucky to have you. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of doctor's appointments, telling family and close friends, and dealing with morning sickness that seemed to strike at the most inconvenient times. Hanli was incredibly attentive, almost overbearingly so. You should rest more, he said for the 100th time as I prepared for work one morning. You're carrying our child. You shouldn't be stressed. I'm pregnant, not dying, I said, though his concern was touching. Women work while pregnant all the time. Not my omega, he growled, pulling me close. Not when they're carrying something so precious. His possessiveness had intensified with the pregnancy. He was constantly touching my stomach, scenting me, keeping me close. His alpha instincts were in overdrive, and while it was sometimes overwhelming, I also found it deeply comforting. At work, I just finished a meeting when my assistant knocked on my office door. Mr. Park? There's someone here to see CEO Han. He says it's urgent. Something about a personal matter? That's not really my concern, I started, but she interrupted. He specifically asked to speak with you first. He said his name is Choi Sungjin. My blood ran cold. Sungjin. Han Li's ex-fiancé, the one who'd left him at the altar. Send him in, I heard myself say. The man who entered was beautiful in that delicate, calculated way some omegas cultivated. He was dressed in designer clothes, his hair perfectly styled. But his eyes were red-rimmed, desperate. You're Park Min-ju, he said, looking me up and down. The Omega Han Li married instead of me. I'm his husband, yes. What do you want, Mr. Choi? I made a mistake. He stepped closer and I instinctively backed up. Leaving Han Li was the biggest mistake of my life. I was scared, confused. But I've realized now that I love him. I want him back. That's not possible. He's married. To me. A marriage that only happened because I left. Sungjin's voice rose. Don't you understand? You were just convenient. A replacement. Hanli doesn't really love you, he loves me. He always has. Each word was designed to hurt, to plant seeds of doubt. And damn it, they were working. Old insecurities rose up, about how our marriage started, about whether Hanli could truly love me or if I was just filling a void. You need to leave, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Hanli has moved on. We're building a life together. We're having a baby. Sungjin's face paled. A baby? He seemed to crumble. That should have been mine. That life should have been mine. But it's not. You gave up that chance when you walked away. Now please leave before I call security. After he left, I sank into my chair, shaking. I shouldn't let his words affect me. I knew Hanli loved me. But the seeds of doubt had been planted, and I couldn't help but wonder, would Hanli have chosen me if circumstances had been different? Or was I really just the convenient replacement? That evening I was quiet through dinner. Hanli noticed immediately, of course. All right, what happened? He asked after Pum Pum went to play in his room. You've been distant since this afternoon. Sungjin came to see me today. Han Li's entire body went rigid. He what? He came to my office. Said he made a mistake leaving you. That he wants you back. I looked down at my hands. He said I was just convenient. A replacement. And you believed him? Han Li's voice was dangerously quiet. I don't know what to believe. The words burst out of me. Han Li, our marriage started because he left you. You literally grabbed me to avoid embarrassment. How do I know that everything since hasn't just been you making the best of a bad situation? He was on his feet instantly, pulling me up with him. His hands gripped my shoulders, forcing me to meet his eyes. Listen to me very carefully, he said, his voice intense. Yes, our marriage started badly. Yes, I chose you out of desperation and pride. But every single day since then I've chosen you again. Not because of convenience, not because I'm making the best of things, but because I genuinely, desperately love you. But if Sungjin hadn't left, I would have married him and been miserable. I would have had a cold, loveless marriage of convenience. And I never would have known what it felt like to truly love someone. To have someone love me back. His voice softened. Minju, you are not a replacement. You're not second choice. You're the only choice. The right choice. My choice. I want to believe that, I whispered. Then believe it. Believe me when I say that you and Pum Pum and this baby are everything to me. Believe me when I say that the day I forced you to marry me was the luckiest day of my life, even if I didn't know it then. He kissed me, pouring all his conviction into the touch. And slowly the doubts began to fade, replaced by the certainty of his love. "I'm sorry," I murmured against his lips. "I shouldn't have let him get in my head. No, I'm sorry. Sorry that our beginning was so complicated that you still have doubts. But I'm going to spend every day for the rest of our lives proving that you're my forever." The next day Hanli dealt with Sungjin personally. I didn't know the details, he refused to tell me, saying only that it's handled. But I later heard through office gossip that Sungjin had been seen leaving Han Industries looking pale and shaken, with rumors that he was moving abroad. "What did you say to him?" I asked that evening. "I made it very clear that he is never to contact you or anyone in our family again. That if he sets foot in Seoul without my permission, there will be consequences. And that you are mine, my husband, my Omega, the love of my life. And nothing he says or does will ever change that." The possessive growl in his voice sent shivers down my spine. "That's very alpha of you." "You bring out my alpha instincts," he admitted, pulling me into his lap. "Especially now that you're carrying my child. Every protective, possessive, territorial instinct I have is screaming at me to keep you safe, to eliminate any threat." His hand spread across my stomach, which was just beginning to show the smallest bump. "I love you, Minju. Never doubt that. Never." "I love you too," I whispered. "And I'm sorry I doubted us." "Don't be sorry. Just trust me. Trust us. Trust that what we have is real and worth fighting for." I did trust him. And as the weeks passed and my pregnancy progressed, that trust only deepened. Hanli was incredible, attending every doctor's appointment, reading pregnancy books, preparing the nursery with Pum Pum's enthusiastic help. By my second trimester, I was showing properly, my Omega body responding to the pregnancy with the typical changes. Hanli couldn't keep his hands off me, constantly touching my growing belly, scenting me obsessively, growling at anyone who came too close. "You're being ridiculous," I told him one evening after he'd physically stepped between me and a colleague who'd gotten too close at a company event. "I'm pregnant, not made of glass." "You're carrying something precious," he countered, his arms wrapping around me from behind, his hands settling on my stomach. "Forgive me for being protective. Protective is one thing. This is borderline aggressive." He nuzzled into my neck, breathing in my scent. "You smell different now, sweeter. It drives my alpha instincts crazy. Every part of me is screaming to protect you, to keep you safe and satisfied and happy." "Well, if you want to keep me satisfied," I said, turning in his arms, "you could help with my current craving." His eyes darkened with interest. "What kind of craving are we talking about?" "The kind that involves pickles and ice cream at 2 in the morning." He blinked, then laughed. "That's what you meant?" I thought. "I know what you thought," I said, my own body responding to his nearness despite my words. "And maybe after the pickles and ice cream we can address that too. But right now your baby wants weird food combinations." "Our baby has expensive taste already," he teased, but he was already grabbing his keys. "Come on, we'll go together. I'm not letting you out of my sight anyway." The late-night convenience store run became a routine. Hanli never complained, no matter how strange my cravings got. Pum Pum found the whole thing hilarious. "Papa, why do you eat such weird things now?" he asked one morning, watching me dip French fries in chocolate sauce. "The baby makes me want strange combinations," I explained. "When you were in my tummy, I craved spicy noodles constantly." "Really? That's so cool. What does this baby make you want?" "Sweet and salty together. And sour things. Lots of sour things." "The baby has good taste," Hanli said, pressing a kiss to my temple. "Just like their papa." At 5 months pregnant, we went for an ultrasound to find out the sex. Pum Pum came with us, bouncing with excitement. "Is it a brother or a sister?" he kept asking. "I hope it's a brother. We can share toys and play together." The ultrasound technician smiled at his enthusiasm. "Let's take a look, shall we?" As she moved the wand over my gel-covered belly, the baby appeared on screen. My breath caught. There they were, our child, moving and growing inside me. "Everything looks perfect," the technician said. "Nice strong heartbeat. Good size. And, would you like to know the sex?" "Yes." Pum Pum shouted before we could answer. She laughed. "All right, big brother. It looks like you're having a baby brother. Congratulations." Pum Pum's cheer was deafening. Hanli's hand tightened around mine, his eyes fixed on the screen with an expression of such wonder and love that it made my chest ache. "A son," he said softly. "We're having a son." "Another son," I corrected, looking at Pum Pum, who was still celebrating. "You already have one son who's pretty amazing." "I do," Hanli agreed, reaching out to ruffle Pum Pum's hair. I have two incredible sons. I'm the luckiest alpha in the world. That night, after Pum Pum was asleep, we lay in bed together, Han Li's hand resting on my stomach. Have you thought about names? He asked quietly. A few. What about you? I was thinking, if it's alright with you? Han Minjun. Min from your name, combined with Jun meaning talented or handsome. Han Minjun, I repeated, testing the name. I love it. It's perfect. Yeah. His smile was brilliant. Our little Minjun. I can't wait to meet him. He'll be here before we know it. 4 more months. 4 months? Han Li repeated. Then his expression grew serious. Minju, I want to do something before he arrives. What? I want us to renew our vows. Have a real wedding ceremony with our friends and family. One where you choose me freely, where there's no force or obligation. I want the world to see that you're mine by choice, not by circumstance. The proposal took my breath away. A wedding? A proper one. With you in white, though maybe a different shade this time, and Pum Pum as our ring bearer. With vows that we write ourselves that mean something. With a celebration of the family we've become and the love we've found. He turned to face me fully. Say yes. Marry me again, Park Minju. Not because you have to, but because you want to. Yes, I said immediately, tears streaming down my face. Yes, I'll marry you again. 1,000 times yes. He kissed me deeply, his hands still protective on my rounded belly. I'm going to make sure everyone knows how much I love you. How lucky I am to have you. The next few weeks were a flurry of wedding planning. This time I had control over everything, the venue, the guest list, the decorations. Jisoo helped, along with Mrs. Kong, who'd become something of a mother figure to both me and Pum Pum. You're glowing, Jisoo said during a fitting for my wedding hanbok. I'd chosen traditional attire this time, wanting something meaningful rather than Western style. Pregnancy and happiness look good on you. I am happy, I admitted. Happier than I ever thought I could be after Beom-su. I felt so guilty at first, like loving Han Li was betraying Bom-su's memory. Do you still feel that way? No. I think Beom-su would want me to be happy. To give Pum Pum a complete family. And Han Li. He's given us both so much love. I placed a hand on my stomach. I didn't think I could love anyone the way I loved Beom-su. But what I feel for Han Li is different. Deeper maybe. More passionate. It's not better or worse than what I had before. It's just mine. Ours. The wedding was scheduled for my 6th month of pregnancy, when I'd still be comfortable enough to enjoy the celebration. The venue was beautiful, a traditional Korean garden with cherry blossoms in full bloom. As I stood in the preparation room in my deep blue hanbok, embroidered with silver thread, I felt at peace. This was right. This was real. Papa, you look like a prince. Pum Pum exclaimed, adorable in his own miniature hanbok. Wait until Appa sees you. The ceremony was everything I'd dreamed of. Friends and family filled the space, their faces full of joy. Han Li stood waiting for me, devastatingly handsome in his black and gold hanbok, his eyes fixed on me with such open love that I nearly stumbled. This time when we exchanged vows, they were our own words. Park Minju, Han Li began, his voice strong but emotional. The day I met you I was lost. Broken. Angry at the world and everyone in it. I took something from you that day, your choice, your freedom. But somehow, impossibly, you gave me something in return. You gave me hope. You gave me love. You gave me a family I never knew I needed. You've made me want to be better, not just a successful CEO but a good man. A good husband. A good father. I promise to spend every day earning the gift of your love. I promise to protect you and cherish you and our children with everything I have. I promise that I will always choose you, every single day for the rest of our lives. You are my heart, Minju. My home. Tears streamed down my face as I spoke my own vows. Han Li, when I met you I thought my life was over. I thought I'd never love again, never trust again, never dream again. But you proved me wrong in every way. You showed me that it's possible to find love in the most unexpected places. That family is what we make it. That healing is possible if we're brave enough to try. You've given Pum Pum a father who adores him. You've given me a partner who challenges and supports me. You've given us both a safe place to land. I choose you, Han Li. Not because I have to, but because I want to. Today and always. When we kissed, it was to thunderous applause. And unlike our first wedding, this kiss was real, full of promise and passion and pure joy. The reception was beautiful. Pum Pum proudly told everyone about his baby brother coming soon. Han Li never left my side, constantly touching me, making sure I was comfortable, bringing me food and drinks. You're fussing again, I told him, though I was smiling. I'm allowed to fuss. You're my husband and you're 6 months pregnant. Fussing is mandatory. Later, as we danced together, slowly, carefully, his hands supporting my back, he leaned down to whisper in my ear. Thank you for today. For giving me this, for letting me do it right this time. Thank you for loving me, I whispered back. For choosing us. Always, he promised. I will always choose you. The final months of my pregnancy were challenging. My belly grew impossibly large, making sleep difficult and movement awkward. Hanli became even more protective if that was possible. I'm fine, I insisted for the 1000th time as he hovered while I tried to tie my shoes. I've been pregnant before, remember? I know what I'm doing. That was years ago. And you did it alone. This time you have me. He knelt down, gently batting my hands away so he could tie my shoes himself. Let me take care of you, Minju. You're going to drive me crazy with this constant hovering. Good. Crazy omegas make for easy targets, he teased, then kissed my rounded belly. How's my son doing in there today? Kicking Papa? Constantly, I admitted. I think he's going to be a soccer player. Pum Pum, who was now 5.5, loved talking to my belly. He'd press his ear against it, claiming he could hear his brother. Minjun, it's your big brother, he'd say seriously. When you come out, I'm going to teach you everything. How to read and draw and play games. Appa and I will protect you and Papa will love you so much. You're very lucky to have our Papa. He's the best in the whole world. These moments made me fall even more in love with my life, with my family. But as my due date approached, nervousness set in. What if something goes wrong? I asked Hanli one night. What if there are complications? Then we'll handle them, he said firmly, pulling me against his chest as we lay in bed. You're healthy, the baby is healthy, and we have the best doctors in Seoul. Everything will be fine. But what if? Minju. He tilted my face up to look at him. I know you're scared. Birth is scary, especially when you remember how Pum Pum's birth went without Bom-su there at the end. But I'm here now. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be with you every single moment. His confidence steadied me. Promise? I promise. You and our baby are my world. I'll protect you both with my life if I have to. 3 weeks before my due date, I was at work when the first contraction hit. I paused mid-sentence in my meeting, gripping the table. Mr. Park? Are you all right? One of my colleagues asked with concern. I think. Another contraction, stronger this time. I think I'm in labor. Chaos erupted. Someone called Hanli while someone else called for a car. Within minutes, I was being rushed to the hospital, with Hanli meeting us there, having apparently broken several traffic laws to arrive so quickly. I'm here, he said breathlessly, taking my hand as they wheeled me to labor and delivery. I've got you, Omega. You're doing great. It hurts, I gasped as another contraction hit. I know, baby. I know. But you're so strong. You can do this. He pressed a kiss to my forehead, his alpha pheromones releasing in a calming wave. Just breathe. I'm right here. Labor was long and difficult. Hours passed in a blur of pain and pressure, with Hanli never leaving my side. He held my hand through every contraction, wiped my face with cool cloths, whispered encouragement and praise. You're amazing, he told me during a particularly brutal contraction. So strong, so perfect. I'm in awe of you, Minju. Completely in awe. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the doctor announced it was time to push. You can do this, Hanli said, his hand gripping mine tightly. One more push, Minju. Our son is almost here. With a final, agonizing push, our baby entered the world. His cry was loud and healthy, the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. It's a boy, the doctor announced unnecessarily. A healthy baby boy. They placed him on my chest immediately, and I looked down at the tiny, perfect creature we'd created. He had Hanli's dark hair and my delicate features, his little face scrunched up as he cried. Hello, Minjun, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. Hello, my beautiful boy. Hanli was crying too, his hand gently touching our son's head. He's perfect. Minju, he's absolutely perfect. After ensuring I was stable and the baby was healthy, the nurses allowed Pum Pum to visit. He tiptoed in, his eyes wide with wonder. That's my baby brother? He whispered, staring at the bundle in my arms. That's him, I confirmed. Do you want to hold him? We settled Pum Pum carefully in a chair, with Hanli and me supervising as he held his brother for the first time. He's so small, Pum Pum breathed. And soft. I'm Minjun. I'm your big brother. I've been waiting to meet you for so long. Watching my two sons together, with Hanli's arm around my shoulders, I felt complete in a way I'd never experienced. This was my family. My home. My everything. That night, after visitors had left and Minjun was sleeping in his bassinet beside my hospital bed, Hanli held me close. "Thank you," he said softly. "For what?" "For this. For our family. For giving me a second chance at happiness. For loving me even when I didn't deserve it." He kissed my temple gently. "I meant what I said in my vows, Minju. You are my heart. My home. Everything I do, every breath I take, it's all for you and our boys." "I love you too," I whispered. "So much it sometimes scares me. But it's a good scared. The kind that reminds me how lucky I am." "Not as lucky as I am," he insisted. "The day I grabbed you at that wedding, the worst thing I've ever done, turned out to be the beginning of the best thing that ever happened to me." "It turned out to be the best thing for me too," I admitted. "I was just surviving before you. Existing, not living. You taught me how to dream again. How to love again. How to be happy." We sat in comfortable silence, watching our newborn son sleep, knowing Pum Pum was safe at home with Mrs. Kong. This was peace. This was contentment. This was love. 2 years later. I stood on the penthouse balcony, watching the Seoul sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Behind me I could hear the joyful chaos of family life. Pum Pum, now 7 and in 2nd grade, was reading a story to Minjun, who was toddling around in diapers and giving his big brother skeptical looks. And then the dragon said, "Minjun, stop pulling my book. I'm trying to teach you." "Dragon," Minjun declared, one of his few clear words. Dragon? Yes, that's right. You're so smart, Minjuni." Strong arms wrapped around me from behind, and I leaned back against Han Li's solid chest. At 34, he was even more attractive than when we met. A few silver threads in his hair, laugh lines around his eyes from smiling more, an overall softness to his features that hadn't been there before. "Our boys are going to drive each other crazy," he murmured against my ear. "They already do. But they love each other fiercely. Like their parents." His hand settled on my stomach where another bump was just beginning to show. "How are you feeling? Any nausea today?" "A little this morning. But this pregnancy is easier than Minjun's was." I covered his hands with mine. "I still can't believe we're having another baby." "I can." "We can't keep our hands off each other." His voice dropped to that low, seductive tone that still made me shiver. "You're insatiable when you're pregnant." "Me?" "You're the one who wakes me up at 3 in the morning. Because you need to touch me." "Can't help it. Pregnant omega pheromones drive me wild." He nuzzled into my neck, breathing deeply. "You're lucky I have any self-control at all." "Appa. Papa. Come look what I drew." Pum Pum's voice called from inside. We went in together to find Pum Pum holding up a drawing of our family. Him, me, Han Li, Minjun, and a small bundle I assumed was the new baby. Above us he'd written in careful letters, "My family. We love each other forever." "It's beautiful, sweetheart," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "I want to hang it in my room," Pum Pum declared. "So I can always remember how happy we are." That night, after both boys were asleep, Han Li and I lay in bed together. It had become our ritual, these quiet moments at the end of the day where we reconnected, talked about everything and nothing. "Jisoo told me today that Sungjin got married," I said idly. "To some European alpha. They're living in Paris." "Good for him," Han Li said, completely unbothered. "I hope he's happy." "You really don't care, do you?" "Why would I? I have everything I could ever want right here." He pulled me closer, his hand finding its familiar place on my growing belly. "I have you. I have our boys. I have a family that loves me despite all my flaws. Why would I waste energy thinking about someone from my past when my present is so perfect?" "It's not perfect," I corrected gently. "You still work too much. I still worry too much. The boys fight. Life is messy. But it's our messy. And that makes it perfect to me." He kissed me slowly, thoroughly. "I love you, Park Minju. More than I did yesterday, less than I will tomorrow." "That's very poetic for a ruthless CEO. You bring out my soft side. It's terrifying and wonderful." He shifted, settling between my legs, careful of my bump. "Now, can I show you how much I love you? Or are you too tired?" I wrapped my arms around his neck, pulling him down for another kiss. "I'm never too tired for you." We made love slowly, tenderly, Han Li worshipping my pregnant body with hands and mouth and whispered words of devotion. This was what we'd built together, not just passion but intimacy. Not just desire but deep, abiding love. Afterward, as we lay tangled together, Han Li spoke quietly into the darkness. "Do you ever regret it?" That day at the wedding? I knew what he was asking. Did I regret how we started? The force, the lack of choice? I regret that we didn't get to choose each other from the beginning, I said honestly. I regret that it took coercion to bring us together. But do I regret where we ended up? Never. Not for a single second. Even on the hard days? When I'm being too controlling or you're being too stubborn. Especially on the hard days. Because those are when we prove that this is real. That we're committed to making this work no matter what. I turned to look at him in the dim light. You're my forever, Hanli. My choice, every single day for the rest of our lives. And you're mine, he said fiercely. My Omega. My husband. My home. I would go through everything again, all the pain, all the mistakes, if it meant ending up here with you. 5 years ago, if someone had told me that the worst day of my life would lead to the best years of my life, I wouldn't have believed them. But standing in that wedding as a terrified Omega, being forced to marry a stranger, had somehow led me here, to this beautiful, chaotic, perfect life. I'd found love in the most unexpected place. I'd found family when I thought I'd lost everything. I'd found home in the arms of a ruthless CEO who turned out to have the softest heart. And every day I chose him again. Just as he chose me. Forever and always. The penthouse was finally silent. After hours of bedtime stories, glasses of water, and Minjun's insistence that monsters lived under his bed, they didn't. Hanli had checked 3 times, our boys were finally asleep. I stood in the bathroom, going through my nightly routine, catching glimpses of myself in the mirror. 7 months pregnant now, my belly was prominent and round, stretching the soft fabric of my silk sleep shirt. My face had that glow everyone kept commenting on. Though I suspected it was less about pregnancy radiance and more about the fact that Hanli couldn't keep his hands off me lately. As if summoned by my thoughts, the bathroom door opened and my husband leaned against the frame, his dark eyes tracking my movements with unmistakable hunger. The boys are definitely asleep this time, he said, his voice already dropping to that low, intimate tone that made heat pool in my belly. I checked twice. You're very thorough, I said, trying to sound casual even as my heart rate picked up. Even after all this time together, he still affected me this way. One look and my body responded, Omega instincts rising to meet his alpha presence. I have to be thorough. Otherwise we get interrupted. He moved behind me, his hands settling on my hips, his body pressing against my back. And I really don't want to be interrupted tonight. I met his eyes in the mirror, seeing the heat there, the possessive desire that had only intensified since I'd become pregnant again. Is that so? Hum. His lips found my neck, kissing softly along the sensitive skin. I've been thinking about you all day. Couldn't concentrate in meetings. Almost signed the wrong contract because I was distracted remembering this morning. This morning when he'd woken me before dawn, his hands already wandering, his mouth already claiming mine with desperate kisses. We'd made love quietly, urgently, trying not to wake the children, and I'd gone to work still feeling the pleasant ache of his possession. That's dangerous for a CO, I managed, tilting my head to give him better access to my throat. You're dangerous for this CO. His hand slid up, cupping my swollen breast through the silk. Do you have any idea what you do to me, Minju? How beautiful you are like this, carrying our child. I gasped as his thumbs found my sensitive nipples, already tender from pregnancy hormones. Hanli. I love when you say my name like that. All breathy and needy. He turned me around to face him, his eyes dark with desire. I love that after all this time I can still make you react this way. That you want me as much as I want you. Always, I whispered, reaching up to cup his face. I always want you. He kissed me then, deep and claiming, his tongue sweeping into my mouth with confident possession. I melted against him, my pregnant belly pressed between us, my hands fisting in his shirt as I tried to pull him closer. Bed? He growled against my lips. No. I need you properly. He lifted me carefully, so careful with my condition, and carried me to our bedroom. The space was dimly lit by the city lights filtering through the windows, casting everything in soft shadows. He laid me on the bed gently, reverently, like I was something precious. You're so beautiful, he breathed, his hands going to the buttons of my sleep shirt. May I? Even now, after everything, he still asked permission. Still made sure I wanted this. It was one of the things I loved most about him, the way he balanced his dominant alpha nature with respect for my autonomy. Yes, I said softly. Please, Hanli, touch me. He unbuttoned my shirt slowly, revealing my pregnant body inch by inch. His eyes tracked every movement, drinking in the sight of me. When the fabric fell open, exposing my swollen breasts and rounded belly, He made a sound low in his throat, pure alpha appreciation. Perfect, he murmured, his hands following the path his eyes had taken. Absolutely perfect. His touch was gentle but sure, palms smoothing over my sensitive skin. When he cupped my breasts, testing their new weight, I arched into his touch with a soft moan. Sensitive? He asked, his thumbs circling my nipples carefully. Very, I admitted. Everything is more intense when I'm pregnant. I remember. His smile was wicked. I remember how responsive you were with Minjun. How you'd come apart just from me touching your breasts. Heat flooded through me at the memory. Don't tease. I'm not teasing. I'm remembering. Planning. He lowered his head, his breath ghosting over my nipple. Can I taste you, Omega? Will you let me worship you the way you deserve? Yes, I breathed. Please, yes. His mouth closed over my nipple, warm and wet, sucking gently. The sensation shot straight through me, making me cry out and arch off the bed. His hand came to my belly, soothing, steadying, even as his mouth continued its exquisite torture. Han Li, I gasped, my hands tangling in his hair. Oh God, that feels. Tell me, he demanded, switching to my other breast. Tell me how it feels, Minju. I want to hear you. So good, I managed. Your mouth, it's so good. I'm so sensitive I could. Come for me, he encouraged, his hand sliding down my body. Come from just this, for me loving your beautiful body. His fingers found the waistband of my sleep pants, and I lifted my hips to help him remove them along with my underwear. Then I was bare before him, exposed and wanting, my pregnant belly prominent, my thighs already trembling with need. Look at you, he breathed, his eyes dark with desire as they roamed over me. Swollen with my child, flushed with arousal. You're the most erotic thing I've ever seen. He was still fully dressed, and suddenly I needed to see him too, needed to feel skin against skin. Take off your clothes, I said, reaching for him. I want to see you. Touch you. He complied quickly, stripping away his clothes to reveal the body I'd come to know so well. Broad shoulders, defined chest, the muscles of his abdomen leading down to where his cock stood hard and ready, already leaking slightly at the tip. See what you do to me? He said, wrapping one hand around himself and stroking slowly. I'm always like this around you. Always hard, always wanting. I licked my lips, watching his hand move. Come here. Let me. Not yet. He gently pushed me back when I tried to sit up. Tonight is about you. About making you feel good, making you remember how much I love you, how much I worship this body. He settled between my legs, carefully arranging them over his shoulders, his face so close to my center I could feel his breath. I trembled with anticipation, knowing what was coming, craving it. You're already so wet, he observed, one finger sliding through my entrance teasingly. So ready for me. Is this all from my mouth on your breasts? Or have you been wanting this all evening? Both, I admitted breathlessly. I've been thinking about it since you got home. Wanting your hands on me, your mouth, oh. He'd leaned forward without warning, his tongue sliding through my wetness in one long, deliberate lick. The sensation was overwhelming, pleasure sparking through every nerve ending. Delicious, he murmured against my sensitive flesh. You always taste so sweet, but when you're pregnant, it's even more intense. I could do this for hours, Minju. Just taste you, make you fall apart on my tongue over and over. And then he proceeded to try to prove it. His mouth worked me expertly, tongue circling my cock before sucking gently, then moving lower to thrust inside me while his nose pressed against my sensitive bundle of nerves. He knew exactly how I liked it, exactly what would make me spiral toward climax. I couldn't help the sounds escaping me, whimpers and moans and gasped versions of his name. My hands gripped the sheets, then his hair, holding him to me as pleasure built higher and higher. That's it, he encouraged between his mouth and my cock. Let me hear you, Omega. Tell me how good it feels. So good, I panted. Your mouth, Hanli, please, I'm so close. He doubled his efforts, two fingers sliding inside me carefully while his mouth focused on my cock. The dual sensation was too much, pushing me right to the edge. Come for me, he commanded, his alpha voice washing over me. Come on my tongue, Minju. Let me taste your pleasure. The combination of his skilled mouth, his fingers inside me, and the alpha command in his voice shattered my control. I came with a cry, my body arching, thighs trembling around his head as waves of pleasure crashed through me. He worked me through it, gentling his movements as I became too sensitive, finally pressing soft kisses to my inner thighs as I came down from the high. Beautiful, he said, his eyes bright with satisfaction as he looked up at me. You're so beautiful when you come undone for me. Come here, I managed, reaching for him. I need you. Need you inside me. He crawled up my body carefully, mindful of my belly, settling beside me rather than on top of me. His hand caressed my stomach tenderly. How do you want it? He asked softly. What's comfortable for you? I loved that he asked, that he always made sure I was comfortable, especially now that I was further along in my pregnancy. Like this, I said, turning onto my side. Behind me. Hold me while you love me. Perfect, he breathed, settling behind me, his chest pressed to my back, one arm sliding under my neck while the other hand rested protectively on my belly. I felt him position himself, the head of his cock sliding through my entrance, teasing. Then slowly, carefully he pressed inside me. The sensation was exquisite. The stretch and fullness as he filled me completely, the way he surrounded me from behind, the intimacy of his hand on our child while he claimed my body. I moaned softly, pushing back against him, wanting him deeper. God Minju, he groaned against my neck. You feel incredible. So hot, so tight. Like you were made for me. I breathed. Made for you, only you. He began to move, slow and deep, each thrust measured and controlled. His hand on my belly kept me steady, kept me safe, while his other arm held me close to his chest. It was deeply intimate, this position. Not rushed or frantic, but slow and sensuous, about connection more than just release. I love you, he murmured against my ear between thrusts. Love you so much it terrifies me sometimes. You and our children, you're everything to me, Minju. Everything. I love you too, I gasped, my hand covering his on my belly. Love you so much. Always. His pace increased slightly, still careful but more insistent. His free hand slid down from my belly, finding my sensitive knot, circling it in time with his thrusts. Want to feel you come again? He said, his voice rough with need. Want to feel you clench around me while I'm inside you. Can you do that for me, Omega? Can you come for your alpha again? The combination of his words, his hand stroking on my cock, and his cock driving deep inside me was pushing me rapidly toward another climax. My body was so responsive when I was pregnant, so sensitive to his touch. Yes, I whimpered. Yes, I'm close, so close. That's my good Omega, he praised, his thrusts becoming more urgent. So responsive, so perfect for me. Come on, Minju. Let go. I've got you. His fingers stroking more firmly against my cock, and that was all it took. I came with a sharp cry, my body clenching around him rhythmically, pleasure washing through me in intense waves. Yes, Hanli groaned, his rhythm faltering. Yes, just like that. You feel so good, so perfect. I'm going to, Minju. He thrust deep one final time and I felt him pulse inside me, his own release triggering aftershocks of pleasure through my sensitized body. His arm tightened around me, holding me close as we both trembled through the aftermath. For a long moment we just lay there, connected and breathing hard, his softening length still inside me, his hand still protective on my belly. I love you, he whispered finally, pressing kisses to my shoulder, my neck, anywhere he could reach. Thank you for this. For us. For everything. Thank you, I countered softly. For loving me. For choosing me every day. For being the husband and father I never knew I needed. He carefully withdrew and turned me to face him, pulling me into his arms with my belly nestled between us. His hand came up to cup my face, his thumb stroking my cheek tenderly. I'm the lucky one, he insisted. That day at the wedding, the worst decision I ever made turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. Because it brought me you. It brought us each other, I corrected, leaning into his touch. And look at what we've built. What we're still building. His hand returned to my belly, feeling the slight movements of our child within. A family, he said softly. A real messy, beautiful family. The best kind, I agreed. We lay together in the quiet darkness, our bodies cooling, our hearts slowing, but the intimacy between us only deepening. This was what I loved most about our physical connection. Not just the pleasure, though that was incredible, but these moments after. When we held each other and talked and simply existed together in perfect contentment. We should sleep, Hanli murmured eventually, though he made no move to let me go. You need rest. The baby needs you to rest. In a minute, I said, not ready to leave this peaceful cocoon yet. Just hold me a little longer. I'll hold you forever if you let me, he promised, pulling me impossibly closer. Forever and always, Minju. That's how long I'll love you. Forever and always, I echoed, already feeling sleep tugging at me. My alpha. My husband. My home. As I drifted off in his arms, safe and loved and thoroughly satisfied, I thought about the journey that had brought us here. From that terrible, frightening wedding day to this moment of perfect peace. From strangers forced together to partners who chose each other every single day. It hadn't been easy. There had been pain and fear and doubt. But we'd fought through it together, building something real and lasting and beautiful. And as Han Li's breathing evened out beside me, his hand still protective on our growing child, I knew with absolute certainty that I would make the same choices all over again. Because this love, this family, this life, was worth everything. Forever and always,